Today, the topic is the euro, as it will be launched here in Lithuania since January the 1st, 2015. Therefore, the insights from our experts will be namely on this topic. And here are the speakers. Household analyst in SEB Lithuania, Julita Varanauskiene, her peer in Estonia, Triin Messimas, and analyst from SEB Latvia, Edmunds, Rudzitis. The floor goes to a representative from Estonia, to Triin Messimas.
It is so good to be in Vilnius again after 1.5 years and present a new Baltic Household Outlook, and today tell the story about how we Estonians adopted euro, how well we have used to euro now, and what kind of problems and concerns we had, and what is the situation today. So, yes, thank you. We have had euro now more than 3 years, and I would say from several researches, but also basing on my own experience, that Estonians are quite well used to euro now. And it is even a little bit difficult to remember what happened when we adopted euro, what was this exact momentum, what problems there were, and what we thought before euro. As you see from the title of this slide, then households in Estonia are the most positive about the euro, not only among Baltic countries, but also among all 28 countries of European Union. And it is even maybe a little bit surprising because we adopted euro during debt crisis in Southern Europe, and there were still a lot of problems related to economical recession. But the momentum was quite favorable because the economical situation in Europe was improving by that time, and people were more optimistic. And it was like a vote to the country to get euro and to have this euro license to take euro into usage. Fiscal situation in Estonia was quite good, and by now Estonians haven't been so much influenced by the debt crisis that occurred all Europe or southern parts of Europe the next years. So situation was quite good. Our export partners from northern European countries, Finland and Sweden, performed well, and overall feeling was good. So we are quite satisfied with euro. And as you see from this graph, also in Latvia, the feeling towards euro has improved after adopting euro. So overall processes go to positive direction. Of course, the main concern when asked from people from the countries who are planning to take euro into usage is increase of prices. And if you ask from whatever person in Estonia what happened with euro, the very common answer is that yes, everything was okay, but there was price increase. And the question is, was it really so, and how big part of this price increase and inflation was really influenced by euro, and what part of this was due to other factors, not only adopting euro? Yes, you see these 3 lines in this picture reflecting changes in consumer prices in all 3 Baltic countries. And despite the fact that only Estonia adopted euro, you see that these lines are quite similar and quite close to each other. It means that in all Baltic countries there was increase in prices during 2011. And it was more related to overall economical situation and recovery after economical recession, because of course during economical crisis all prices were kept down, and retailers, shops, service providers couldn't increase any prices because of quite poor situation of households and poor purchasing power. But then during 2011 there was quite a high inflation of 5% or so in Estonia, but also in other Baltic countries. And by now it is clear that only 1/10 approximately of this inflation in Estonia was due to euro or related to euro changeover. And it is similar to other countries who have adopted euro in Europe. So the change because of euro in prices is somewhere between 0.2 to 0.5%. And it is more related to small things, more cheap goods, not so much related to prices in big supermarkets, prices of durable goods. It is easier to change prices of small things. How well our people, ordinary people, are now used to euro, and do they still calculate prices in Estonian crowns? It is quite interesting question, and also basing on some researches, but also basing on my own experience, it is clear that we don't anymore calculate prices for small things. Cheap goods, everyday purchases into Estonian crowns. I would say it is even difficult to now understand the value of this amount in Estonian crowns. We don't even remember, was it big or small, was it expensive or cheap to have this kind of prices in crowns. But what we do is that we calculate prices for big purchases. If we purchase housing or car or even some trip or some more expensive things, then we calculate still. And you see that from this angle, Estonians differ from example Slovaks. If you look at this left picture, you see that in Estonia 43% of inhabitants calculate big purchases into Estonian crowns, but almost 60% of Slovaks. But Slovakia adopted euro in 2009, much earlier. So there are several reasons behind this different behavior or different habits. And maybe one thing is this exchange rate, because if you look at the rate between Estonian crown and euro, it is quite complicated. It was 15.6466, not round something, and it is really hard to calculate. And another thing was that we were used to euro even before euro adoption, because we had euro loans, and we had some habits to travel to Finland, where was euro already. So we knew more about euro before, and really this adoption was quite smooth and easy because of this. And also another question, is there any influence by euro to our traveling behavior? Of course, it is easier now to understand prices in euro countries. It is easier to calculate, for example, salaries. It is easier to just know and feel and understand what the banknotes are worth, and we know how coins look like and so on. That's why it is easier and less risky to travel to euro countries. But if you look at overall traveling, you see that euro didn't make a big change in this habits. So our families travel not more than before euro. And the number of total visits to abroad hasn't increased so much after euro, and it is now still below the level of 2008. But if you look at the visits to euro area, you see that people more prefer to, for example, spend their holidays in euro countries, and this share among total visits is increased. Also, what was one a very common expectation related to euro was that people start more purchase real estate, especially shortly before euro adoption. But in real life it didn't happen, or it happened, but the influence was not very big. So you see that in the fourth quarter of 2010 there was some increase in real estate purchases, but only by 4% compared to the third quarter of 2010. And also there has been some increase in Latvia in 2013, but not also so big. And another question, is there any influence to borrowing? And also the answer is that yes, of course, borrowing started to grow from 2010 already and 2009, but it also was not so much related to euro adoption. So there is maybe some influence, but not so big. And talking about Estonia, Estonian citizens were quite used to take euro loans, and this share of euro loans didn't raise before euro adoption. So we had euro loans before, and we of course have euro loans now. But some risk of deflation, some risk of change of exchange rate was, and now of course we are free of this kind of risk and feel ourselves more comfortable with euro and with euro loans. Just talking very shortly from a very human perspective, what was the biggest change when we adopted euro? I would say that the most luckiest persons in Estonia were small kids, because they got more pocket money. And why so? Because it was quite common to give to the kid 10 crowns. It was nice banknote, 10 crowns, worth 64 approximately euro cents. And of course, after euro, nobody gave to the kid 10 crowns. It means 64 cents, but at least 1 euro with coin, or even 2 euros. And if you think that with 2 euros was more than 30 crowns before, nobody gave 30 crowns to a small kid, but now with 2 euros coin was quite small money. So kids were very happy, I think. And another problem that our inhabitants had was with euro banknotes. Because before it was possible to take from ATM 25 crowns, which is worth to 1 euro and 60 cents. Now the smallest banknote was 5 euros, which is much more. And people were worried that they even don't have so much money on their accounts to take cash from ATM. So this was maybe one reason why people used more to use card transactions and do more transactions via accounts, not to take cash out of ATMs. But this was our experience, and now please Edmunds can continue and talk about Latvia.
Estonia, but also we see some kind of changes in habits of households. First, I would like to start with. First, I would like to start with support for the euro in Latvia. Of course, since 2012, the support for euro has increased in Latvia, but not very significantly, actually. Why is that? Triin mentioned the survey, Eurobarometer survey, in which support for euro, a single currency, grew in Latvia in 2014. But actually, there's a very interesting thing as that survey results depend on the questions, on how questions are formulated. And if you ask people, are you supporting European Economic and Monetary Union and with a single currency, the euro, of course, most of Latvians agrees. So we are in the eurozone. Eurozone survived during the crisis. The breakup of the eurozone is quite low. The probability of breakup of the eurozone is quite low. So of course, it's normal to support the euro as a single currency. But if you ask people in Latvia question like, do you support the changeover from Lats to euro? Then you will receive quite different answers. And according to a survey conducted by SKDS in March of 2014, approximately one half of Latvian people said that they are against the changeover from Lats to the euro. So quite a big number, and so I can say that Euroscepticism in Latvia still is quite high. So maybe it's because people see some kind of instant costs, increase in prices, which are they maybe in line with expectations, but also we see that these benefits from the euro are for travelers, for people who have mortgage loans in euro currency, but some people want these benefits already, but these benefits will be in the long term only. So it's a remark regarding support for the euro. And acceptance of the euro, of course, will only come with some kind of time in Latvia, and I guess that support for the euro will grow in the future if economic development and will bring some more money in pockets of the households. Before euro changeover, there were several concerns in Latvia. The loss of national identity, the loss of control over country's economic policy, and of course the price increase due to the euro changeover. If we look at the chart on left, then we can see that quite a large part of people have noticed price increase due to the euro changeover. And of course there are some maybe explanation also. In Latvia, actually, Lat was one of the highest valued currencies in the world, and the value of Lat was larger than the value of euro. And after euro changeover, everything from 1 Lat was transferred to 1.42 euros, and people saw larger nominal prices everywhere around, and this is partly explains why so many people have noticed the price increase after euro adoption. At the same time, the inflation remains quite low, and the effect of euro adoption is not big and was in line with the expectations. At the same time, actually, the price on inflation perceptions in Latvia since 2011 have been quite larger than actual inflation. So people perceive inflation in different ways, and you can see in official statistics, and this partly because of some changes in prices of first necessity products, goods and services, and also we can saw some increase in price expectations in 2013 before euro adoption. So people expected that prices will increase. At the same time, overall inflation was low, but prices increased in service sector. So the hairdressing, the catering services showed quite big price increase, and partly, of course, it was because of roundups before and during the euro changeover. Another thing is that we can say that in Latvia households acted in quite rational way. They brought their money to the commercial banks to choose such kind of automatic conversion method, and money inflows into commercial banks over the last 2 months of 2013 was approximately 387 million euros, or increased by 8%. It's quite large amount. In January of this year, you can see on the chart that there was some kind of decrease, but in the second quarter, increase in volume of deposits has resumed, and at the end of August, the amount of household deposits reached the highest value ever. So people are not taking out the cash after euro changeovers; they're keeping the cash in the banks. And we can compare some kind of countries which adopted euro before Latvia: Estonia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Cyprus, and Malta. And we can see similar trends in all countries. The increase in November and in December, and of course growth rates are different. The highest growth rate was in Slovakia, while in Estonia the growth rate was the lowest. And it can be explained that in Latvia, cash payments and cash as saving form was more popular than in Estonia, and people in Estonia use more payment cards. As I said, we have noticed some changes in behavior of households, financial behavior. The more people use payment cards for their transactions, and numbers of card transactions and value of card transactions rose quite significantly in the first half of 2014 compared to the previous year. It's increased by 26% in number of card transactions and approximately 22% in value. Of course, we can see that some quite large number of households use cash, because if you look at the chart, you can see that the value of ATM cash withdrawals are quite large, and approximately 60% of all card transactions. So it means that people are using more payment cards actually due to the euro changeover, and one of the reasons, of course, are that right now we have more money. Why is that? Before euro adoption, there was 6 one-size notes in Latvia, 5, 10, 20 50, 100, and 500 banknote. Then you had 8 circulation coins from 1 centime to 2 lats, and 23 special design 1 lats coins. So 31 coin and 6 notes. Right now, after the euro adoption, you have 7 different size notes, which are totally different in sizes. Then you have 8 circulation coins from every Eurozone country. It's 18 Eurozone countries. It means 144 circulation coins. Then you have approximately 100 commemorative 2 euro coins. And also you have approximately 50 coins from small countries like Monaco, San Marino, and Vatican. Of course, it's very hard to find out which coin is from which country, and is it coin real, or is it coin fake, or something like that. So it's some kind of problems which lead to more card usage, of course, yeah, because people are a little bit afraid of new money. At the same time, there is also one another thing. It's some kind of different dimensions and ways of coins. The set of euro coin in nominal value 3.88 euros weight 43 grams, while the weight of similar amount in lats 2.73 lats was weight 21 grams. So it means you need much larger wallets. And this also is the reason why payment cards are more popular right now, because you don't have such a large amount. You have a large amount of small coins which are not you're not be able to put in your old wallet. So we can say that due to several reasons, like unacceptance of euro as a domestic currency, that fear about some counterfeit money and problems with the old wallets, due to these reasons, the usage of payment cards has increased in Latvia. And one more thing, it's interesting that a large portion of cash remains unchanged. Because the experience of Estonia shows that even 3 years after euro adoption, there are quite large amount of money which remains unchanged. And experience also of Latvia shows that only 40% of all coins have been exchanged right now. So huge amount of small coins, I guess, will remain unchanged. Thank you.
Dievai neklysta,
God's clever people learn from mistakes of others, and I'm the last to introduce the euro. We have the privilege of being the last, not to make mistakes done by others, and not to omit opportunities which were omitted by other people. So we may compare the aspects, different aspects, and we ask such a question: does any money changeover will make some great impact? What about borrowing terms? What about the effects? Are people going to spend more or to deposit more money? And what? So when starting from the price increase, I could say that Lithuania is in the first position, that prior to the euro introduction in Lithuania, the respondents who provided answers to Eurobarometers Many people expect that the prices will grow, so the share of those who expect increase in prices was the largest in Lithuania. Why such a threat existed in Lithuania? Here we may find some psychological aspects, but we also may find rational reasons and explanations. So Latvia's example shows that the greatest change in prices was related to service prices. So increase in service prices was the fastest. If we look at the chart in Latvia on the left side, so we see that the curve, the blue line, it started to grow. I mean, price growth, it started to grow in September and October. And what is going in Lithuania? Let's compare on the right side. So what we see, growth in prices, and that jump started from April. So it means much earlier than the prices of service providers started to increase. So we may declare that our businessmen got a good lesson, and they started to round prices because they had an example of their neighbors. So we joined the good practice code. Is it good or bad? So what will be the impact on household expectations? So here we have to take into consideration several aspects. If the price already increased, so maybe in future it will not rise much more. So maybe in future we expect that the prices will not grow by more than 3%. Another example, if we compare with Estonia, so impact of euro introduction on prices was not that great, but the highest increase in prices was the largest as compared with other countries, less than Finland. So the prices which were the cheapest in Estonia, so the rise was the greatest. But here we have our neighbors, Poland, I mean, so prices here in that country are not that large. So if we look at increase in prices, so euro introduction will not make such great impact on increase in prices. So we are not an exclusion, and the perception of people, how they analyze and how they forecast will be different from that what is shown by official statistics. So I can provide several reasons. Well, the nominal of currency is changing. So if the prices in the nominal value will be lower. Another reason is that every human being notices what price is growing. And one more aspect, in such countries where people are used to recalculate prices into the previous currency, so they are pegged to that former prices. And in Eurozone, usually people were basing their recalculations on the year 2002. So now they see that in 12 years, the prices were increasing. Another problem, another challenge is exchange of cash. Judging by changes in saving deposits, Lithuanians were earlier to bring in cash, their savings they had somewhere at home, to the banks preparing for cash launch. This means that they behaved in a rational way. As regards the amounts of cash, amounts per capita are twice as large compared to Estonia and a little bit lower than in Latvia. So even in our case, deposits are growing faster. The situation which was in Latvia, say in November and October, the growth was higher, so we expect the same scenario in Lithuania. As regards whether cash that will be brought to banks will be withdrawn in January or February, in our opinion, that will not happen because this did not happen in Latvia, which, at least in the Eurozone context and Baltic context, is the country which favored cash the most. But if we look at Estonia, a record fall in the use of cash, which was there immediately after launch of cash, has also dropped. This is influenced not so much by withdrawal of deposits from cash, but simply money that reach the market stay in it, and the new money that comes in is related to illegal work, illegal labor, Estonians bringing in illegal labor profits from, say, Finland. So we shouldn't compare the situation. The level of cash in Estonia equals to the average at the Eurozone level. So we can evaluate as a technical aspect, as money that is required for day-to-day transactions, because Estonians are the ones that pay most by cards compared to other Baltic countries. During 2015, the amount of money that will remain unchanged. People, well, keep some of the notes for memory reasons. Some people simply dig them somewhere well hidden. And there will be people who will still have notes and coins, and they will not be able to explain why they keep the money. But anyway, there will be an unlimited period at the Central Bank of Lithuania to exchange this money. Today we hear fears which irradiate among especially elderly people who have memories of bad experiences of previous money changeover. Say the irrevocable rate of exchange, the 3.45, if a person exchanges the money and pays the fee for exchange, they will be happier. So we have to remind and stress that after January the 1st, the exchange rate, which is set by now, will be valid. How well people get used to new money. Getting used to new currency is not a matter of getting used to new notes and coins and getting new wallets or purses. It means how fast we start calculating prices without exchanging it mentally into the old currency and see whether it's a large or small amount in a new currency. People tend to assess or even guess the new prices, which way they go. Each one of us have our own affordability, and we know how much we can afford or see how much, say, rubber boots could cost in our understanding. And now if we recalculate the price from the litas into the euro, it takes time. Therefore, the aim is to get people used to new currency without making these calculations. How we see the experience in this sense in other countries. In the countries where in 2002 new coins and notes came in, and see what is the situation there in the year 2013, by the end of that year, we see extremes. Say in Ireland, only 4% and 7% of people tend to change prices into their previous currency. In the first case of small purchases, in the second case the high. Say if we take Belgium or Portugal, even today a significant part of people still recalculate, even during an 11 years period, tend to recalculate purchase prices into their previous currency. Reasons may differ from social differences to different other factors, age of people. But one presumption, as my colleague Triin said, if recalculation is an easy exercise, say in Ireland, recalculation from the euro into Irish pounds is difficult, not only because it's 0.78, but you have to divide. And we all know from school that division is more difficult than multiplication. So if it were the only reason for Latvia, that would be good news, because Latvians should also have to divide, which makes it inconvenient. Therefore, let's expect in 11 years' time the percentage of people who calculate prices in euro currency will be the same as it is in Ireland, while in Belgium and Portugal, 1 euro equals either 40 previous francs or 30 escudos, so 200 escudos. So multiplication by 40 or 200 is much easier compared to Latvian and Lithuanian currency. So in a year's time, we'll have a similar proportion of people who will calculate in the euro and not in the litas. And this number will be similar to that in Estonia. One more thing I would like to add. It takes more than 12 months, that is 6 months before euro launch and after, before people get used to the price level, not only to the notes and coins. The conditions in terms of borrowing. People will borrow money, they will have less uncertainties. About a year or two ago, each mortgage loan borrower had to decide about the period, about the maturity of the loan, about the currency and interest he or she will opt to. And compared to other 3 Baltic countries, we see that in Lithuania, the share of people who opted to lend in the litas is higher compared to Estonia or Latvia. When the interest is lower and they fluctuate less than in the litas, what is the motivation of people obtaining loans in the litas? So the only explanation could be currency risk, even though that the rate has never been changed since the time when the litas was pegged to the euro. But there were borrowers who actually took such a risk into account. But if you have hedge against currency risk and the amount in the litas will not increase, you have to assume another risk. You have to take interest fluctuation risk. In 2009, interest on currencies in, say, litas or lats or Estonian crowns, their fluctuation limits were higher compared to those who tended to take loans in the euro. So these pains, which risk to take, will simply vanish because it will no longer be there.
We would like to know if borrowings will be stimulated after euro adoption. So we don't know if borrowing habits will change. What is going in Lithuania now? So we don't know still if borrowings will increase or will decrease or rise. So it will depend on demand and supply. If people want to obtain a loan, the greatest pressure was before obtaining a loan. So we observe expectations related to mortgage loans. And we saw that in the beginning of this year and from, let's say, from the previous year, expectations were growing. More and more respondents said that the housing prices will rise. If we look what was going in Latvia, the situation was similar. In the middle of this year, there was a break-even point. Expectations of households started to shrink. I mean that the people which said that the prices will rise, the share of such people started to decrease. It is one more lesson which was learned by our households and in relation to expectation of increase in household prices, so they don't not longer relate to these changes in economy. If we speak about prices of loans, so interest rates are dropping and we have no longer interest rates in litas. But if we ask a question if interest rates in euro are growing, so today they interest rate in euro are lower than in Estonia and Latvia. So it is not while expecting that interest rates on euro loans will grow. If we speak about the depositors, so many people, the greatest share, have chosen to accumulate savings in the national currency. But the reason is that they were offered the highest interest rate, and since the 2013, the situation started to change. Here we may say that we will not have litas in euro. Will not have litas, so. Benefit generated on savings in euro will be lower. We cannot say that it is the only meaning of interest rate. I mean profitability. What lessons we will give to other new member states of the Eurozone? So if we ask if an obligation not to change prices is a good thing, so we don't. So the businessmen incur price list or costs because they have to recalculate prices for large businesses. They incur even much higher costs. When individuals receive information, they started to make early measures related to savings in their national currency. Euro adoption decreases the cash volume in economy, irrespective of changes in savings and borrowings and terms and conditions. Can say that the household behavior does not change remarkably after the euro introduction. And as my colleague from Estonia said, who will get the greatest benefit, as she said, the greatest was for children. And what concerns me, I am used to go to the market, and when the price is 21 for some goods, and when I ask for a discount, and she said 1 liter is a lot, and another seller said, oh, it's nothing, 1 liter, so I can negotiate the prices in the market. So euro will give that opportunity.